And I mean, if you had to choose, oh, how would you? I mean, like, if you had to come up with a plan, how would you approach kind of like to eradicate and educate people and kind of see what you would be able to do to get rid of the double standard? Like, how would you fight it?
I feel like in my own little way, I sort of started.
Oh no, you can't. No, listen.
You know what I mean?
This one over here will wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and set your timeline ablaze, emasculating men.
Because I'm just so tired of like opening my app and seeing hold this and hold that. So I call it out an awful lot. And what I can say, the reason why I say like I've already started it in my own way. I've had Twitter since 2009 or something. I've had several different handles. I used to say a lot of crazy shit. But one of the things that was always the same about me was the fact that I always stuck up for other women. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'll joke around, bitch, yo, you a hoe, you this and that. But, like, to seriously sit there and degrade another woman is something that I'm not okay with. And I feel like it's become more acceptable now to say some of the shit I used to say. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like me saying, oh, I have a sugar daddy, or I have multiple boyfriends. Like, this is, like, a popular thing now in 2018. And I'm like, I used to get slandered for this shit. Like, slandered so bad. And now it's like an acceptable thing. So I feel like the more women become comfortable with themselves and the more women stop looking for the approval of men, the double standard is not going to be there anymore. You know what I mean?
And I also feel that, and to give men their credit, like, I feel like now in this day and age, like, even though we do still have the backwards ass men who still have those old ass mentalities, but I will say that men are becoming a little bit more educated, I will say, and kind of more accepting. Definitely. Because, I mean, following you for as long as I followed you, like, you've seen me digging into straight men's asses. Digging those claws in. I've done my fair share of, but at the same time, I've also noticed that there are, like, a lot of guys who are kind of like the opposite. Like, they will also be responsive, like, you are right. Yeah. Or they'll even share their own kind of point of views. And I feel like that's also awesome.
Important.
I feel like men should speak up and kind of defend women as well and kind of defend that freedom that women should have.
Which is why social media is so important. Yeah. Because, like, let's say there's somebody that may have been following me a long time and they think, like, she's a cool person. Don't call her out her name. Or, you know what I mean? And they're actually the ones who would stick up for me or agree with what I have to say and respect my choices and respect that I'm a free person. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel like the more you get that on social media, like, people don't realize you build not necessarily friendships, but there's definitely some sort of, like, you got your little clique, you know what I mean?
It's like a camaraderie and, like,
there's definitely a camaraderie, and I feel like you can create that with strangers wherever they are. They don't even have to be in the same country as you, but the fact that this is such a big platform and we can make a difference by what we write on it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I look back to some of the stuff that I used to write and I'm like, whoa, I probably wouldn't say that now. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's definitely a learning process, and I feel like once you become more mindful of what you say and the message you really want to convey as a person, like who you are as a person. Exactly. If a hoe is not something you want to be called, you probably would be a little more conservative on the internet. But, a bitch like me don't give a fuck. You know?
I don't care. You can call me what you want, baby. I'm gonna be that and more. But guess what? You don't pay my bills, so your opinion matters zero over here.
I think also confidence goes a long way. Like, caring what other people have to say and whether or not people like you is another big issue with the double standard, because it's like women don't want to get blackballed by men. So they're not going to behave a certain way because they feel like men are watching. I can't do this. You know what I mean? Like.
But then, is that really like leading you to live your most fulfilled life? Because you're still kind of like and that's kind of something that I kind of battled against, even with myself, because I like to think of myself as kind of like this free person. Like, I try not to live as worried about what other people think, but then I find that it's kind of like a habit. You're, like, in a sense of like, it's something subconscious. Like, at times, like, it'll be something so small. It'll be like, oh, I'm not gonna post this picture because
I don't want to hear what
I don't want to hear. Yeah, and it's in the moment, and then you think about it like, well, why should I give a fuck?
Yeah, that's where social media can become exhausting. Yeah. Like, I really don't know how some of these women deal with it, like the Kim K's and the Amber Roses and stuff. I don't know how they deal with the negative comments on a consistent basis. Yeah. It's almost abusive. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you are Kim Kardashian. You have, I don't know how many million of followers. You post a picture. That's all those people giving their opinion on what you look like and what you're wearing. And I feel like social media, although it has helped spread awareness, is also becoming problematic in the sense that it's like almost like an overstimulation. You know what I mean? Like it's roadkill basically. Like you throw a picture on there, you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You have all these followers, you don't know what are people gonna say. I think I reached like 3,000 followers the other day, and it gave me a shell shock, and I said, I don't even think I want to fucking tweet anymore. Like I really, because now I've started on there, I barely had 500 something followers, you know what I mean? Yeah. And now I'm at a platform where it's like, okay, this is getting a little out of hand. I don't think what I have to say is that important just yet. And I hate you. You know, it's crazy because now it's like I have quadruple the people looking at me. So I get what you're saying, because now I have like even more of these people looking at me and what I say and judging what I say, judge how I look, and that's sometimes overwhelming, I guess you could say.
Do you feel that in order to kind of like survive like that social media wave, especially like when you get to that level of like 1 million followers and plus, that you kind of sort of need a certain level of narcissism so that you kind of like, it's kind of like, okay, it's my world, it's about me, and I don't give a fuck what no one else says.
Definitely.
And you just kind of like have to have that air around you. And then it kind of makes me think too, in the sense of like, sometimes you think of these people who act like divas and they're like, oh, they're just self-absorbed. But kind of like, maybe that's kind of like a protection for them. They're like living within this bubble.
Definitely.
Because you can't always deal with that constant negativity.
Definitely.
And have that in your face, because that is detrimental to your kind of like mental health.
I can say that I honestly do it.
Yeah.
Because if I don't follow you, I can't see your mentions. So that's one of the ways that I've been able to, you know, control what it is that I'm exposed to, what it is that I see. Unless I scroll through my timeline and look at the comments and say, okay, I want to look at the comments, I don't really know if you're tweeting me if I don't follow you. And that's one of the ways I've been able to filter stuff out. And sometimes I don't even read my actual timeline or go in my mentions. I'll just like tweet away, and I'm just like tweeting and speaking. Yeah. And then you close the app.
Just like you close the app.
Close the app. You don't have to hear with anybody. You don't have to hear all the hoes and sluts and bitches and you ugly and you know what I mean? Like,
can I make a confession?
You just close that shit. Say what you gotta say, start a fire, and bounce.
I think I'm a little bit of a sadomasochist because I like to read my comments. Like I like that.
At some point,
I like it all. Funny. I like it all. Like I like the good, the bad. I listen. Read me. Go into my comments because I'll be there. Like I'll be like, you thought that was cute, though, didn't you? That was cute. That was.
You know what gets you when somebody actually is able to flame you, and you're like, oh, and like, you actually have nothing to do but laugh.
You gotta laugh and be like, you know what?
That was good.
That was a good one. I gotta start my cookies up, you little bitch. Thank you.
Thank you for dragging me.
Thank you for dragging me and waking up the monster inside.
But that's where the sort of desensitivity has to come with certain words. Yeah. You have to desensitize yourself to the words hoe and bitch and slut and thought and all of what else?
All of it. No, and it's true because again, like I said, like I was saying earlier, I feel like for when like women have had to deal with like the double standard for and I don't want to say longer, but I feel like being gay hasn't been as much of a mainstream thing as it is like right now. Like now it's kind of like it's everywhere and it's kind of like it's on TV. It's part of pop culture. It's literally like a part of almost everyday life. Like it's becoming what's that? A household name. There you go.
Yeah, because I know when I was a kid, to me, the only gay men you really knew were like hairdressers or people on TV, you know, like fashion designers. He wasn't even gay, I'm sorry. No.
But his eyebrows used to scare the fuck out of me.
Those eyebrows they on fleek. But, you know, those were the gay men, the hairdressers or like the people in the fashion industry or on TV, you know, like you knew that. Like when we were growing up, you knew what a RuPaul was. Yeah. But RuPaul never really came out and said anything about being a drag queen or people accepting him.
It was just kind of like an accepted thing. Like it was just like kind of like me, because me growing up, it was kind of like, oh, RuPaul, like, oh yeah, it's RuPaul. You know RuPaul. Yeah, and that was it. And I was in a sound like, and he was the mainstream. It's kind of like that idea of there can only be one. Like RuPaul was the mainstream drag queen.
Because it's so crazy. Like I don't really think he ever made an issue about coming out as a drag queen. I don't even think he ever made like an announcement. He never said. He just decided one day, like, I'm gonna be that bitch, and just didn't give a shit. But now it's like this whole big thing where people feel like they have to announce it. That's another thing. With it being so acceptable now, do you really think it needs to be a thing where like transgenders announce, I'm gonna transition, or a gay person coming out, I'm gonna be gay, unless it's to people that matter?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't feel like you have to come out per se.
Coming out to the world versus coming out to like your family.
Exactly. I feel like you sometimes, depending on your family dynamic, you kind of do have to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Just because like, you sometimes have family members who may have an idea, but they're not sure. And just to kind of like avoid, because I mean, like, let's be real, like, how many times do you want to go to a family function and be like, oh, so why don't you have a girlfriend?
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes it's kind of like that. It facilitates future conversation. Like, that's the way I saw it. In my mind, I was like, I'm going to come out because I'm just tired. Like, I don't want you asking me about girlfriend.
Don't be asking me about kids.
I don't want your kids. Like, I just don't want to continuously have this conversation every single fucking time I see you.
Like, in that sense, I get it. But, like, we have people doing full-on transitions on social media. Like, Bambi. You know, do you follow It's Bambi on Instagram? She's, like, this transgender teenage girl. And she has now almost 2 million followers, but her whole transition has been like
documented.
Via Instagram, documented on YouTube.
Well, in a way, I would say it depends on your motive.
Right.
In the sense of, like, I feel like if you're doing this to kind of educate, to be kind of like, to have that platform to educate people of like what it takes to transition and to kind of be like that spokesperson, then I commend you, I applaud you. If you're doing this just kind of like to seek attention and to just like, because I want to be famous, so this is going to be my avenue.
But I feel like that's for the most part the motive behind what so many people do, and not just, you know, that in particular.
Just in in general.
Just in general, like, people do a lot because they want to get that quick money scheme. Because now it's like, if you're popular on social media, people pay you for things. Yeah. And that's where it also starts diminishing the people who are genuinely doing this for a better cause. You know what I mean? Because they may not have the followers, so they're not getting the sponsors, and they're not the ones in the spotlight, and they're not the ones that we see. We see the ratchetness. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which we can go back to, like, why are people like Amber Rose and Kim Kardashian so popular? If you want a better role model, why aren't we pumping up these role models to like that standard?
It's because, like I always say, that's not necessarily the role models that the 1% want.
You really think they're 1%ers?
The ones that have an issue are the 1%ers, because I feel like, because let's be real, like, as much as like, let's say, for example, like, I'm gonna give you guys a perfect example, like my mother's a Jehovah's Witness. She's been a Jehovah's Witness for years. She may not, for example, like, she's not gonna commend Cardi B for being a stripper. She's not gonna commend, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's not gonna sit here and be like, oh no, like, yes, it's cool, Cardi. That's the life, yes, do it. No, she's not. But at the same time, my mother would understand her struggle and understand the fact that to where she's gotten to now. And she would applaud her for making that journey.
Yeah, for making the change.
So in my mind, it's always like, for us, and I use the term us loosely, because again, everyone growing up, everyone's struggle is different. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's struggle is different. Like, whatever you feel is your struggle is your struggle. So to me, I kind of feel like, to us, seeing someone who literally, it's like, because I told this to one of my other friends, I was like, the reason why I was always rooting for Cardi is not because I thought she was like, oh no, she's the best rapper alive. Okay. It's not even about that. It's literally because Cardi to me would be like my next door neighbor. Making it. Yeah. Like, why? I can't be upset with my next door neighbor making it. Like, why? Like, no, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's what's up. Like, it's lit in these streets. It's definitely
a form of hate too, because like, they don't want to see the underdog win. They don't want that.
They applaud you while you're the underdog. It's like, oh my God, she's trying so hard to make it. It's awesome. Yeah, boo, get it. And then once you make it, it's like, oh no, fuck that bitch.
How many times?
Because you want to make it too and you can't.
How many views some of her old like Instagram videos used to get? Yeah. But when she got famous, it was like, oh, why is she famous? But y'all been watching her videos
from that
long, getting her thousands and thousands of views on her videos, and it's like, you didn't expect this to happen?
Like, and that was my thing. It was, to me, I look at Cardi, like, I look at the Nickies, and I say Nicki because and it's completely off topic, but like to me, I feel like they're both in a sense of kind of like underrated people in different ways. Like Nicki was underrated in a sense of like I feel like people think that I don't know why they have this mentality with Nicki Minaj, like she just popped up on the scene and she's here now, and there was no, and there's no like, and there was no backstory. So like, no, like my mom went through every single step. Like my mom was out here doing the whole freestyle battles in Queens, selling her mixtapes, you know, on the streets, doing little performances.
For a long time, she was only doing mixtapes. Like,
so that's my thing. Like she put in the work, and it's kind of like the same thing with Cardi B. Like you're gonna seriously sit here and tell me that you didn't know Cardi B off of Instagram? Like literally, like I was following Cardi B for a solid 2 years before she even got on Love and Hip Hop.
Me too. I used to be like, damn, that bitch's voice is annoying, but then I'll still be on her videos like.
And it was funny because this, you used to be like, she was like, but her teeth be making me die laughing at these videos.
I couldn't with her teeth. I just couldn't. I love her so much, but like the bottom set was so bad. It was just, but. You know, but from where she was back then to where she was now, she actually, like, she cleaned herself up. She, you know what I mean? And I feel like she is so humble and appreciative of it, too.
And that's why I feel like people, and again, it's not even about the double standard, but it is.
It is.
But I just feel like, to me, it's not even that I give her a pass, but I give her a pass because at the same time, like, sometimes I have to sit there and I'll listen to her speak, and I'll be like, oh, baby girl. I'll be like, in my mind, I'm like, see, you need a teleprompter, and you need some God cards, cause I know what you want to say, but that's not how you say it.
But that's what, you know, she's the people that I really root for because she's a person that may not be as, how you say, she doesn't have the etiquette that, you know, you'd expect somebody in that position to have. Like, even when you hear Nicki Minaj speak, Nicki Minaj sounds proper. Yeah. You know what I mean? Especially now. Like, she rarely does that, like, hood talk at all. Yeah. She really knows how to switch it up. Whereas, like, Cardi is the real thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, to me, that's, like,
and I feel like that's why, people right now fucks with her because at the end of the day, like, with Nicki's journey, again, and I feel like, and I say again, it's just, you have to know the background story in the sense of like with everyone, because again, like you're talking about a girl from Jamaica, Queens, who went to LaGuardia High School.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're not talking about someone who was like, nah, like I grew up in like Bed-Stuy or in the Marcy Projects out in these streets, or like, you know,
I grew up across the street from Lincoln Hospital.
You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up like in Mott Haven. You know, like it's not really Struggleville, but it's not. It's, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like.
She was from the hood, but she's a different version of a hood girl.
Exactly. It's kind of like the hood girl with prospects. Yeah. As opposed to kind of like growing up in fucking Soundview, which there's nothing wrong with these neighborhoods, but it's kind of like. It's a bleaker existence. Like, yeah,
it's different, and unless you single-handedly have that ambition, you're gonna be that street person,
and you're gonna repeat. And these are the situations, these are the neighborhoods that kind of force you to repeat cycles, where it's kind of like your grandparents have lived here, your parents have lived here, now you're living here, and it's most likely a chance that your children will live here too.
And the fact that Cardi broke that cycle is so awesome. But like I said, the fact that she's a woman that did it, I feel like is a big issue because. You have stories about like men that came from nothing. You know what I mean? There's actors that way, even white actors. You know, there's really men and that their story is bad. Even Sylvester Stallone. Yeah. Like they say he was dirt poor, didn't have any money, and he wanted to become an actor. You know what I mean? And it happened. But it's why nobody shits on Sylvester Stallone, but everybody tries to shit on Cardi B. And I'm not saying they're not in the same category whatsoever, but it's just the whole concept of somebody coming from nothing and just trying to make something out of themselves, you know? And
is that double standard? Because in my mind, I'm like, if you have, because I've seen male porn actors turn into businessmen, and you never see that thrown in their face, or it being something device like, oh no, you're a porn star, so I can't take you serious. It's kind of like, okay, you did what you did, but you're here now.
If a woman does it, they'll constantly remind her of who she was. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like, you can never change who you are.
Like, let's be real. Like, I want everyone that at least watches my show and who's ever going to see this episode, like, just take 2 seconds to think, when was the last time you sat down and said, okay, I'm 22, I'm 23, I'm going to apply to this job because this is where I'm going to be at when I'm 70 years old.
Never.
Like, no one's saying it. Like at the end of the day, and then you have to remember, like, people have different choices to make, and they have different limitations within their life, like within that moment in time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Cardi B in her mind didn't think to herself, like, nah, I'm gonna become a stripper because this is gonna be my career. Like, I'm gonna be 45 with saggy titties and be out here like, strippers live.
Who's to say she didn't start it for a cause? Like, she knew where she was going and she had a direction, and that's exactly why she is where she is.
It's kind of like, it's kind of like the women that strip to put themselves through law school. Now they become lawyers, and it's like, it was a stepping stone. So to me, it's kind of like, if it's a stepping stone, like, even if it's I'm pretty sure she didn't think in her mind, I'm gonna become a stripper so I could become famous. So that now, when I become famous, y'all could just drag me for being a stripper. Like no.
Yeah.
It's like with Drea. She used to dance. All right, she danced. She danced, but then now it was like, how long has it been since Drea danced?
And they still bring that.
And they still bring it up. Like, Mama has a whole swimsuit line that's doing amazing.
Yeah, she's a businesswoman. She's dumb as rocks, but she's a businesswoman. She's a beautiful woman, and I feel like as an entrepreneur, she should be respected that way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it has been a really long time. Because when she was on Basketball Wives, she wasn't dancing even back then.
No, she wasn't.
It's been a really long time.
It's been years. Like, we didn't even meet Drea dancing. That's the crazy part.
Very few people even remember that. Like,
yeah, like, literally, like, Drea's one of, like, and it's crazy to me because it's that double standard. Because Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
Was a dancer
when he was in college, right?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Was a dancer, and now he's an actor. And
he had to make a movie out of it to make it cool.
Like, and mind you, still, no one said nothing bad about it. It was kind of like, listen, it's whatever. He's the actor now. He does his little dance movies. It works for him. But, again, and you have Drea, who literally, we met Drea as being, like, trying to become an actress.
Yeah.
That's how we got introduced to Drea. Trying to become an actress, and then we literally, for 6 seasons, all we got was Drea the thigh and Drea the stripper, groupie. The groupie. And we're like, but wait, how? Because the ones who we ever saw on that show was Orlando.
So bad because I was definitely part of the dragging, but to me, I didn't realize it till now. Like, to me, all of that stuff was staged. This is acting. This is fake shit. So to me, dragging it was like, when you see something in a novela, and you're like, ooh, look at that bitch.
Look at that.
But then, like, these reality people started blocking me, and I'm like, oh shit. So maybe I did hurt their feelings. Because to me, in my mind, it's like all fake.
Yeah.
It's like, but then I realized, like, no,
some of it's real.
This is real. Like, they really take this serious, and this is really their reputations, and this is stuff that they're trying to battle and come out of, which is why I stopped doing that. But it was fun while it lasted. That was probably like the first 2 seasons of
but it teaches you, like, again, and then it's a different, and I feel like, listen, and this is why sometimes I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, just like with certain things, because I know that I've made a lot of problematic statements in my past. Yeah. So in my mind, but again, and this is why I can say, like, I can believe that certain people change, because I used to be real problematic back in my days on Twitter, but I'm not the same person today. And like, I've learned certain things, I've made friends, you know what I'm saying, that have taught me to see things differently. So to me, I feel like it's a growth, and when you come from a genuine place, then I feel like that's what matters.
It's us using certain vocabulary that has become different. Like, now, I definitely use the word bitch different. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, bitch is like, bitch? Like, you my bitch?
Yeah.
Yes, bitch. Like, I very rarely say it as an insult anymore, because to me, it's like, what can possibly be insulting about a bitch when you really think about what a bitch is? Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't really use that in an insulting manner, but there still are certain words that are very touchy, and you have to be careful with what you use.
And it's kind of funny that you said that, because I feel like there's a double standard when it comes to that. Not a double standard, but like, I was having that conversation recently, because I feel that certain words go through like phases, and certain words, like, there's a moment where now, like, certain words are bad, but like, if they weren't bad 10 years ago. Like, for example, like I was saying, when that whole situation, kind of like another sidebar conversation, but with Offset using the word queer, in my space, again, like, and like, to me, like I said, if this were the first instance, I could be like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's not the first time that there's been an issue when it comes to kind of like the Migos making homophobic, I guess, like remarks.
Yeah.
So when
and it's been in music for a while. So,
yeah. So to me, I was like, when that whole situation happened, in my mind, I'm like, it made me think, and I was like, growing up, I didn't really hear the word queer in I guess in a derogatory term until like I said like until I literally went to high school. Like once I stepped foot into kind of like, because like I said again, growing up, yes, I was raised in the Bronx. And like I said, I would listen. If you were gay, they were calling you a fag. They were calling you a homo. They were calling you a faggot.
The word was a faggot.
Yeah, like that's how you was getting dragged.
Yeah.
Like no one was out here like, oh, you fucking queer. I would.
Yeah, that like, wasn't bad.
That wasn't bad. It wasn't like, you know, like until like I said again, once. It's all about social circles and social norms. Once I stepped my ass into the city where that was literally where my social circle was, then it was like, oh, queer this, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, is that like a bad thing? And I had to like, you know, I had to teach myself, and it's kind of like again, I grew up in a social circle where I could call a person who was transitioning a tranny. Like, oh, you were trying to just, oh, you moaning, sis? Yeah, let me see your moan titties. Yeah, like, and it was okay. And then literally from night to day, it was like, no, you can't say trans. I'm like, oh, why?
Yeah, it's still hard for me to like adjust to that because I've been saying it for so long. Another thing that had to come out of my vocabulary, and I'm gonna be honest, is faggot. But I even had gay friends, especially tops, that use the term. And again, that goes with the whole double standard thing. Like, I don't know, how is it okay for a top to call a bottom a faggot, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's acceptable and it's okay.
And it's funny because even in conversations, and again, it's kind of like that double standard. This is kind of like the fact that I always tell people: you can't expect someone else to accept you if you don't accept yourself. Because this comes into play with how, and I call them stages because I feel like you go through stages from the moment you come out. So you're like your social circle to the point where because there's a difference between coming out and being comfortable. Because you can come out and be like, I'm gay, but you still have to transition to that point where you're comfortable with not only you being gay, but with the gay community in itself. Yeah. Because you kind of get into that point where you have conversations, and again, we as a community have to realize we have our own conversations. Literally, where you'll be like, oh no, because listen, because there's a difference between being gay and being a faggot, because he's a faggot. Like, that's a faggot. And you're kind of like, and then you think back to it, and then you can't be upset when your homegirls out here like, nah, because he's a faggot. And then be like, no, you can't use that word. You can't use that word, yeah. Exactly. Like,
I got dragged one day for using the word, and then I realized, like, how much this really hurts people's feelings. And I had to apologize. You know, I didn't realize, but I was around that all the time. I have a lot of friends in the gay community, like, you know, and I actually have a trans friend, and it was okay to say, you know what I mean? Like, it was used as a term to like degrade somebody the same way back then bitch was like a big thing. You call a woman a bitch, I mean, like, that was a major thing. Or you call a woman a hoe, that's a major thing. But people used it so casually to insult other people that they didn't really realize what they were saying.
And I always tell people at the same time, and it's not about, it's not about giving people a leeway or kind of like a get out of jail free card. It's just, it's also all about the context. Like, at the end of the day, we have to realize the context that these words are being used. Like, let's say, for example, I may not be comfortable with someone calling me sis. Yeah. Like an example. But if you come up to me, you may not know me that well, and you be like, oh, you mad cool, sis, like, I love you. Why should I get upset with you and be like, oh, see, now I can't be this bitch friend because she called me sis? Like, wait. Like, I feel like, why is it everything has to be so, like, a hard line in the stand? Like, why can't we educate people? Like, at the end of the day, like, if I know you don't know me and you don't know that I'm offended by that word. Yeah. See, like, I should be like, I should be cool. I find that shit funny. You know, I should be cool enough to be like, and then not space to say, like, listen, I love you, girl, but listen, I like to be called sis. and that's it. And not be like, or even if you don't like to be called sis, like, why is it such a hard thing for you to be offended? Because it's happened to me. And mind you,
I notice I say it a lot, but usually when I say it towards, like, let's say a straight man, I'm actually being...
Because you're an asshole. Okay.
Like, yeah, I'm calling you sis because of the bitch-ass things you say. But, you know, when I say it, so, like, my friends or something like that, there's almost like an endearment attached to it. You know what I mean? So context definitely makes a difference in how you say it. Because, you see, I can take that one word and twist it some whole other way.
But again, it's context because we're all grown. So, like, if you were to be like, "Alright, sis," and then it's like I said, it's all about
what we're
everything.
talking about, yeah.
Because, like I said, it happened to me. And it was funny because the person who it happened with, to me, it was a reflex, and the person got offended because to them they were like, "Oh, I'm not your sister," and I'm like, because they felt that they deserved a different term of reference. And I was just kind of like, but that's not even where I was going. That's neither here nor there. Like, it was just in that moment.
Yeah.
You said something, and I was just kind of like, all right, sis. Like, it was literally, that was the moment I was like, all right, sis, like, whatever. Like, if you want to believe it, you can go ahead, but, like, that ain't gonna fly over here.
I'm dead. And, there be all-out Twitter battles over sis.
And then there's me with that. I'm not your sis. Like, don't ever call me that. And I'm like, but you're not my man. You're not my bro. Like,
bro is another one. Ugh. See, but isn't it strange how you can use sis as an insult, but bro is actually like, you're my bro.
The double standard of the
female,
like, of the female
how can sis be so shady, but bro is just like bro, you know, or bro, like.
Well, I mean, I get that too, but I was gonna say too, like, if you have a boyfriend, boyfriends hate when you call them bro. Like, that's like you call them like, whatever, bro. I'm not your bro.
I'm not your fucking bro. That's true, but I feel like it's less like less like of a shady term in general. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in random conversation, okay, bro, nobody's gonna get mad that you say that. You know
it's
what
like,
I mean?
why you gotta call like?
But say sis, and a whole freaking riot will break out if you're in the wrong neighborhood.
Because they don't want to feel like they're feminine. Because, you know,
God
forbid you're too feminine. You know, they're crossing the line. You're gonna be on the shelf. You ain't gonna get picked. You ain't gonna get chose.
Femininity is not taboo. I feel like
all.
You know, I admire men who are able to be in touch with both their feminine and masculine side, because women have that too. You know what I mean? And it's so crazy how women are always looked at as the emotional ones, but men actually internalize a lot more, but it doesn't make them less emotional. Yeah. Like, they're just as emotional. They're just as messy. Like, I have a lot of male friends, and, you know, both straight and gay male friends, and
male followers on Twitter are so sensitive.
Straight male friends are way more sensitive than, like, anybody else, even me. Like, it's just so
I'll be
crazy.
rolling on your timeline. I'll be like, y'all just
They get triggered so easily, and, like, that ego just pops out right away, and it's so crazy because it's almost like, you know, like the saying goes, a woman has to watch what she says. But I can't, God forbid, I trigger a straight man, it's automatically gonna go to, I was being bitchy, or I was being catty, or it was something that I did wrong, instead of viewing his reaction to what I said as severely emotional. Really emotional, but you know.
A little bitch, you can fuck with me if you want to.
I'm mad I've been babysitting this.
You definitely have.
That was that space cookie, you know. I'm just like, sorry guys.
No, but I mean, like I said, it all comes into play, and I feel like, again, it comes to kind of like, to get back to the original subject, like, is that double standard. It's kind of like, why is it that it's okay to embrace masculinity, but you have to kind of like have femininity at kind of like a arm's length?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, growing up for me, it was always kind of like, I remember like my first actual CD I bought two at the same time when I got my CD player. I bought NSYNC, and I bought fucking Britney Spears Baby One More Time.
Who did not have NSYNC? But Britney Spears, that's definitely.
Yeah. So I come home not excited.
Who said something?
It was so funny. I put my CD and I'm like, it's time. going off, and turn around, my stepfather's in the door of my bedroom with my older stepbrother, and it's just kind of like, this is the shit. This is the shit you want to play right now, and I'm like, I like this song. I like this my song. I like this my shit. And all I did was like, you're such a little girl.
Oh my
God. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, it's tearing up my heart.
That song bangs. Fuck out of here.
Still
and forever. I could dead be in a club lit as fuck. That song comes out, and I'm going off.
Listen, hit me, baby, one more time.
Oh god.
Shit, fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, it's like again, I said again, like they always view like, if you're not like this hardcore like male thing, it's kind of like, then something is wrong with you. And it's like,
that's
why?
why I can honestly say a lot of men feel pressure, because it's almost like they're pressured into this image.
Yeah.
You know, like men are not emotional, men are distant, they don't get attached to things. Like there's always like this sort of emotional detachment they expect men to have to sort of things. So I can honestly say the double standard does have some pressures on men as well. You know, it's not only women, but it's sort of like they have to be the ones to say, like, no, we're going to accept that feminine side. But we're going to accept the emotional side. We're going to accept, you know, being in tune with that side.
And I feel like that's something that I feel like that confuses me. It's kind of like, if you know that you as a man have felt that pressure and kind of like, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, listen, you can tell yourself, like, listen, I know that growing up, my mom always told me, like, for example, oh, my dad told me, like, boys don't cry.
Yeah,
or, like, you have to be a man. Or, like, you know, you're going to go through pain and you just got to suck it up. It's, you know, you can't show emotion or show vulnerability.
Or
and it's
cry.
And, like, so if you know that, like, for example, that you struggled with that, so then why not be a voice and an advocate to kind of, like, for future generations to kind of, like, end that instead of continuously promoting that same cycle. You know, like, that's...
real men.
Yeah, like...
that sort of thing, yeah.
It's ridiculous because I just... Listen, and it's crazy to me how it bleeds into, like, the gay community, because it's the same kind of expectation. You know, you kind of have these, you know, homosexuals that kind of, like, want to grasp masculinity like it's the last thing on earth. Like, if you lose 1 ounce of masculinity, that's it, it's over. And if, you know, if you're a top, it's okay. But if you're a bottom, it's like you're lesser than. It's like, so you're valuing me according to the role that I play. So because according to you, I'm the more feminine of the two. I'm the female in the relationship. Now I have a lesser value. No, nigga. No,
I
nigga.
think
no.
That's something a lot of people don't get to that happens in the gay community. Like, there are masculine men who are actually bottoms. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I know a few, and they're very masculine, and you would never know it by looking, because it's expected for a bottom to be a little more flamboyant. Mm-hmm. Maybe wear tighter clothes. Just, you can see the femininity in them, where it's like, you would automatically assume he's a top if he's super masculine. You know what I mean? But that's not always the case. It's definitely like a stereotype, I can say, that caught me off guard too, because when I first met one of my coworkers, I met his boyfriend, I thought that was like his brother or something. Like, I didn't even think he was gay, because I knew my friend to be a top. Yeah. That's what I thought, because he was super, but then his boyfriend looked super masculine, so I was super confused. So when we get drunk one day, and I had to ask, like, I have to know.
So who's what?
Who's what? Because you could never tell by looking at them that they were actually boyfriends. You know what I mean? They're both super jocks. They're both like manly men, handy men, and they're super stacked. And it was just really strange for me to actually, like me, I had to learn something different. Like, you're not gonna always come across a bottom and be like, oh yeah, he's a bottom. Like, I had no freaking clue. My coworker was a bottom the whole time.
Listen, I'm out here doing handyman work all the time. So I'll be putting. Listen, I'll be out here changing wires and shit.
Super though. Like, this is the superintendent. This is crazy. Like, you would never think that though, because usually when you, like I said, when you think of it, you think of someone more feminine. And
like, even that, I'm just prissy too. So I'm always kind of like I don't really do manual labor. Like, I really don't get into that. But then when I have to, you know, I get down with the nitty gritty.
So I can say that, you know, that's another issue within, you know, the gay community, about that whole like double standard of like what you're supposed to show, you know?
And it's funny because, and just speaking kind of like that double standard within the gay community, I always find it funny that if how being a bottom is always kind of viewed like in like a negative light. Like if you're a bottom, it's always like, oh my god, you're a bottom, or you can't talk about it. Or if you do embrace being a bottom, it's kind of like they look at you funny.
Like,
and
why are you talking about it?
Yeah, like, oh, I could talk about slinging dick all day, but God forbid I'd be like, I'm gonna throw this ass back. Oh, you a whore. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Y'all always talk about circle jerking and fucking hosting sex parties, but God forbid I'd be like, I had some bomb and shit. Oh, bitch, you need to relax.
The Twitter sex orgies have been the biggest controversy of the past year. The Twitter orgies are something else. But what I can say is, like, for example, if you think of something like that, you think of an orgy and you think of your male followers attending this orgy, it's like, oh, he's... You know, you would say something funny, you know what I mean? Like, he's so nasty. But if it's like a woman, it's
like, you a hoe.
She going to an orgy, she's going to get train ran on her, and blah, blah, blah. Like, how is it any different? I feel like sex is not a taboo thing.
And I don't even know whether she going over there because she want to put on a strap on and fuck some niggas in the bike. Who the fucking know?
You never know.
Like, she want to get something, she want to get frisky.
Oh my goodness, that's another whole thing with, like, women doing things that usually they're doing these things to men that usually men do to them. Like, there's this whole topic of ass eating on my timeline, but it's not men eating women's ass, it's women eating men's ass. And people always ask me, like, would you do it? I'd be like, maybe, I don't fucking know. Like, I bitch just might. I feel like in the right situation, you just might try anything.
In other words, she was like, after a couple bottles, we could discuss it. Couple cookies, couple bottles.
Oh my god, I'm dead. But yeah, I feel like, and depending on your partner too, like, who's to say that within context, you just happen to have a partner that you're willing to try new things with? It doesn't necessarily mean anything by it, you know? Like, it's he like his butt. Yeah. He like his ass.
I was gonna say, like, maybe it could just be like a one-time thing. Like, maybe just like you're curious and like, listen, like, I don't know, like, let's see how it feels, and then that's it. And maybe you don't like it, you keep it going. I mean, you don't keep it going, you stop it. But
it's like one of the most taboo topics right now on my timeline. I clearly follow the right people.
the ones that don't do it, the ones that say that they don't do it, but they're doing it.
Yeah, they all doing it because all they do is talk about it all fucking day, and it's so hilarious.
That's funny.
I could tell which guys on my timeline have gotten their ass ate by now by the way they talk about it. It's pretty fun. I follow the right people. Like I said, it's like ass eating is a big topic on my timeline.
And it's funny, but we'll discuss that off camera. But no, yeah. But just to kind of close the episode, I do feel that, you know, the double standard is definitely something that I feel that definitely has gone from generations, has been passed down from generation to generation. But I do feel that with this upcoming generation and with the newer times and kind of like with, you know, with everything that's going on right now, that we are making strides to kind of like get rid of these, to make these changes and kind of have the conversations that need to be had and kind of like progress the human mind to kind of like, you know, to move forward and progress when it comes to that.
And be the voice if it bothers you that much. Yes. Like, be the one to say it's okay to be free. And, you know, I mean, I pump that shit all day on my timeline and people hate me for it. I say things that...
Not enough because they clearly follow you.
Yeah, I mean, I say things that clearly annoy people. But I feel like if you have the platform, which most of us do, I mean, we all have a Twitter or Instagram or whatever, you can speak out about a lot of the stuff.
Yeah. So. And like she said, listen, if it bothers you, tweet about it, have the conversation, engage people. And like
be the feminist.
Right?
Oh my God.
Be the feminist. Whether female or male, be the feminist.
Hashtag men are trash.
Yes.
That's the funniest hashtag on Twitter right now.
Men are trash, meninist. I like men are trash, meninist.
Meninist.
Those are the best ones.
I think the meninist and the men are trash are the freaking funniest hashtags ever.
But definitely have those conversations and engage. I feel like it's all about engaging people and educating people moving forward. You know, and with that being said, enjoy.
Cheers to that.
Cheers, and we'll see you next episode.